Good morning, everybody. It is Wednesday, February 6th. I can't believe it. I've been back a week since my event in Fort Lauderdale. Thank you, Ken Walls, for doing such a fabulous job. I've had so many wonderful comments and feedback, and just really proud to have you as a friend and for you to be willing to share your brilliance with our tribe. So thank you. The comments just keep coming in, so I'm very excited. Had a great event. I was hoping to join the Facebook Live, but it was just an all-day event with incredible people. Just under 2,000 folks in Fort Lauderdale on the Get Motivated stage. They had me kick it off in the morning. I was the first speaker, so I was able to set the context about the importance of sexy assets and understanding that you are the CEO of your own life. So it was a perfect setup because I had a speaker on real estate, they had a speaker on stock investing, and a speaker on the e-commerce business. So talking about the global importance of building, buying, or creating assets was a perfect way to kick off the day. So, and then of course, talking about getting past your fear a little bit is also very important. So it was a fun event. I'm looking forward. I go back in a couple of weeks to do it again in Orlando. So excited about the continuing relationship. So we have, Sherry, Sherry and Ginger and Karen, thanks for being on so quickly this morning. And when I got home, of course, I talked to you about doing your little wins. I was ready to celebrate my win on the event last week, and we had all kinds of weird things happening over the weekend. And so I thought, well, we're going to talk about that. We're going to talk about sometimes change needs to be turned into an opportunity. I've talked about little kids that have curiosity and creativity, and then when they get into school, they're taught conformity, and you get a career and you get comfortable. And so you kind of go through life on autopilot, and all of a sudden you have a crisis and it throws your life into chaos. And the way we get out of chaos is being curious and creative again. Well, it's also when you have chaos, or when you have something that causes things that stop you in your tracks, you want to have that creativity. You want to say, how can I turn this from a negative into a positive? How can I create opportunity out of this? And Anne just came in and moved my computer screen, so you have a better angle. So that's what it was just happening. I think I'm kind of at an angle right now. But that's exactly the attitude we had to take this weekend, because we had so many. I have two dear friends that one had an accident. And she's been in the hospital, and last night we got the word that she's doing much better than we had feared. I have another friend who's going through chemotherapy, and you just think about the negative, but she's just turning it around. She's got such a positive attitude. We had somebody that had worked for us for a long time, that one of our own customers and clients kind of spirited her away, and it's like, we're hoping that she, will decide to hang in there. But that's when you get hit with all this stuff, when you come home and you want to celebrate, it's hard to celebrate when you have those things. And so you just have to, the first step is breathing and remembering that you're not the control freak, even though many of us are. I am a control freak, and so of course I react very quickly as to how can I solve this problem? How can I change this? And back last night, I hope Angela doesn't mind me sharing this, even her son broke his wrist playing basketball. When that happens, a lot of things you have planned out, he's on like 2 or 3 different teams, a moment in time can change everything in your outlook on what you're doing. And so we can allow ourselves to sink into the negativity, or we can allow ourselves to say, okay, something needs to change, and that means we've been pushed out of our comfort zone, not stepped out, and that's the difference. I encourage everybody to step outside their comfort zone on a regular basis, because that's when you discover new things, you meet new people, you start recognizing opportunities that may have been there right from the start. But sometimes you get pushed out of that comfort zone. from circumstances that you don't control. And the issue is, how do you respond? And that is, for me, it's like, take a moment, allow myself to go to feeling sorry for myself, allow myself for feeling angry, that is, about poor me, right, the pity party, and then say, okay, done, time to figure out what we're going to do in the future, because you can create a better result, a better opportunity. But if you just take time and wallow in the negativity, you're not going to go anywhere. You're probably going to go into a deeper depression. So, Angie, welcome. And yes, something can come from good can come from chaos. And really, if you think about it, that's where entrepreneurial discoveries are, is on those paths less traveled. My concept of why not try something different? Why not try, well, sometimes it's not a choice. All of a sudden you find yourself in a foreign environment or with foreign circumstances, and you can decide to let them defeat you, or you can decide to say, okay, this happened, so allow yourself to breathe, feel sorry for yourself for like 1 minute, and you go, okay, this happened, now what? How can I take a step in a more positive direction? And that's something, yes, it comes from experience and maturity, and we don't always succeed at it, but it is something that this weekend has, really came home to me, because of, okay, that happened. Next, what are we going to do? How are we going to make sure that our business continues moving forward in a positive direction, and pull out all the stops? So we have like multiple applications, because I'm also looking for a new housekeeper. So it's a crazy time right now, but I bet you've all been there, right? And so the issue is, do you let it stop you, or do you let it say, okay, this is an opportunity to create something new? And by doing that, you have creativity, curiosity, and new experiences. But when we are pushed outside that comfort zone, it doesn't feel quite as good as when we make the decision to step outside, because we feel that loss of control. So even though we recognize that, sometimes you still have to take a step back, and that comes when you're breathing, right? Cheryl, love a step out of your comfort zone, but sometimes you get pushed out. It matters how you handle it, absolutely. And you're there now, Sherry. Okay, well, maybe you should call me. We'll have a conversation. So let me get to these questions so that we get them all handled. Hi, Sharon. I'm in the middle of parting ways with someone I've been doing business with for a couple of years. It's not a formal partnership in the legal sense, but certainly will change how I do business moving forward, and I will need to find a new relationship to meet the needs that this one has been filling for my company. Because I don't have legal agreements in place, we don't have anything to fall back on or refer to, and are in disagreement about fair practices with doing business together moving forward. I'm doing my best not to get stuck in the negativity, want to be sure that what I do moving forward is even better for my company. How do you come out of a situation like this and not be a little jaded and skeptical going into future relationships? Well, thank you for the question. You didn't give me your name, so I'm going to refer to Mr. Parting Ways, right? Yes, I have a lot of experience in that, and it is always important to have a written agreement. I advise people plan the divorce before you have a marriage, but in your case, that's not, and so you want to have open discussions. If there's somebody that you both trust, maybe they would be willing to kind of sit as a neutral party to help you figure out what's fair for you going forward. But sometimes it may be somebody you care about and they can help you in your business, but there's been such injury that you can't get past it. And that's also important to recognize, because when you have that negativity or that injury ever present in your mind, even if it's subconsciously, it's going to impact and fester. So I would recommend figuring out how to separate, maybe bringing in a neutral party, and then finding an alternative. to keep going forward. It may even be somebody that you like, but you just had a business agreement. And maybe it's like, okay, we're going to separate business and personal, and we're going to go forward with somebody else. Now, if this is an individual who's the only one that can serve you in that capacity, I challenge you there. But if it is, then you need to find a neutral party that can help you move forward, because that gives that individual a lot of control and power over you and your business. So I would challenge you to first start looking for an alternative. And it's important, even if it's an email exchange, to outline what the expectations are on both parties, and a way that you're going to communicate going forward, and a way to find an opportunity to assess the situation several months into the future, so that you build that into the relationship. Because what happens, you need to have a win-win. Both parties need to be having value added from the relationship, or it's not going to work. Somebody's going to get frustrated, and that frustration can fester. So I'm sorry you're going through this, but I bet a few people that are listening and watching this have had relationships and partnerships bust. And certainly when Kiyosaki and I separated with Rich Dad, we had a structured corporate relationship, but we didn't have as deep a one as I should have. And that's why I'm so adamant in telling people to have a written agreement on planning that divorce before you plan the marriage. We never expected the kind of success that we had. And so we didn't really talk about how we would separate and how we would structure it, other than, well, we said we were going to be fair to each other. But sometimes, remember I say emotions high, intelligence low. Guess what happens when your heart is involved and you're mad at each other? So it's important to talk about it up front. Let's hear from Aiden in Ohio. I have a small concierge company, and I employ virtual assistants to help meet client needs, as well as support me with my own workload. I found that with some types of work is a great solution, but not for others. This means that I'm probably going to have to employ someone that will be more expensive and have more specific skill set. I'm looking at the numbers to figure out how much of the expense I can absorb at my current income level. The best case scenario would be to find additional income to cover the increased expense, but I don't know if I can wait that long. Would you stick it out and risk quality of work less than you desire from your business to manage expenses, and take on another hire that is a step above, but maybe won't work out long term until you can absorb the higher expense of a more qualified person? Well, Aiden, that's a multi-tiered questions. And I think, first of all, you'd be giving yourself a raise if you had somebody competent by your side. So it may cost you a little bit more upfront, but it's going to give you free up the time and the worry for you to be able to concentrate on increasing that higher amount of income, so long as you make sure that you employ that additional time to do just that. And so that's where I come into the why not. So you may have to tighten your personal belt to bring somebody in that's qualified, but that's that power of association, because that person that's more qualified is going to be more efficient, get more done, and maybe even be able to help you find more time that they can help you start on the marketing side of things. You have a great business. Virtual assistants is a huge industry right now. So ask yourself, are you investing your time in your business, or are you spending your time in your business? And it sounds to me like you're spending a lot of time thinking about someone who's not giving you the level of service that you need. And that means you're wasting time. You're not investing your time in growing your business. So I would say bite the bullet, bring in the person that can truly help you, and then set up an assessment period, because dedicate the fact that when that person comes in, there'll be training time, right, initially, but give yourself enough time after that to dedicate that additional time to growing your business. And one of the things that I like to do is, all right, so you may be paying, let's use a couple of numbers. Maybe you're paying somebody $25,000 right now, and you need to bring in somebody at $40,000, right? And that's a $15,000 difference. How much new business do you need to bring in? How many clients? Make it a game. So at 15,000, I need to bring in 10 more clients. And so put a thermometer on the wall, and that's your challenge to yourself, is to justify the increase in the expense by a new revenue stream and being in that additional revenue. And then you have the systems in place to help you grow exponentially. So whenever we're doing something, it's like we sit back and go, okay, we have this program we're looking at right now that is, in essence, over the next 6 months going to cost me $100,000. Well, how many mentoring clients do I need to have to offset that expense? That's the kind of thing we do here. So that's what we do. To play big, you want to expand your business, not hold it down. And your alternatives here, most of them are holding your business down. So take that leap with faith, not of faith, but with faith, that you bring in somebody who's really competent. It's going to free you up to start growing more exponentially. Hello, Eric. I've missed you too. Thank you. And you like my investing time in your business rather than spending time in your business. And that's something that I talked about a couple of weeks ago, and it's so important because I challenge myself with that too, because sometimes we get into busy work and we're just spending time. We're not really growing or investing our time in our business. And so I challenge you to think about that. Next question is from Sherry. I've been employed in roles that support sales, but have recently been offered an opportunity for a sales position. This would change my compensation structure with more potential upside based on commission, but less guarantee in salary. I think it's an exciting opportunity, and that because of my background, I'm well positioned to truly support clients in finding solutions. However, I have not always been successful with managing money, and I'm nervous about this new compensation structure. What should I be thinking about or paying attention to? Well, Sherry, that's the $1 million question. All right, you want to take a situation where your income can potentially go higher, but you're going to lose the base that you currently have, all right, probably to a lower base. And so, number one, have confidence in yourself. Maybe what you want to do, if this is with the same company, it sounds like maybe it is, talk to your boss and go out and do a couple of sales calls to see how that feels. If you've never been in sales before, that's part of your fear. And so we want to deal with that fear first. And so volunteer, ask to go out and do some sales calls and get that experience and see how that deals with your fear. Because a lot of times when I talk to people, it's like, I want you to be able to sleep at night. So what you haven't told me, are you a single mom with 4 kids so that you really can't afford for your income to go down? Or maybe you need to find a way to save enough that gives you a buffer for 6 months. That I want you to be able to sleep at night, but it sounds like you have an opportunity to really grow your income, but you have a self-confidence issue. And so there's always a way to get around that and understand that you can make that additional sale. And it may very well be that you'll find that those people that you've helped along the way will help you. The ones that you've supported, maybe they'll take you out on a couple of their sales calls so that you can see how they do it. Learn from those go with the ones that have the highest commissions. So you learn from the best, take notes, but try out a few before you make that decision to just cut bait and change positions, because we have those options. But that kind of change can be very exciting unless you let that fear hold you back. Okay, fear it can motivate you or paralyze you. So having a little fear when you're in the unknown can be a positive thing if you turn that into excitement and energy. Oh, I'm hearing from the UK again. Yay. Mitchell. My question is both personal in nature and related to my business. I'm going through a divorce. I'm so sorry to hear that. And my wife and I work together in a business that she created several years ago. She has not asked me to step out of the business, but I'm not sure if it's realistic to expect that we would be able to continue to work together. Although I am sure she could find someone else to train and fill my role, it will certainly cause disruption in the business. Do you have any advice on how to address this without adding to the intensity of the situation? Well, Mitchell, it's just so I know several couples who are divorced but still run their businesses together. I don't know how they do it. I'll be real honest with you. If something, I'm not sure I could do that, but they have found a way just to continually separate. And it's important to separate personal from business in a marriage. But this is, I think there needs to be some open dialogue with your wife. And you haven't shared with me. You're saying that she created the business. I don't, and you're in the UK, so I don't know if the UK has community property like we do here, whether you own part of the business or whether she owns it solely. Those are kinds of issues that you would include in the decisions that you want to make. If she's in total control and owns 100% of the business, you may commit to staying and building on that business, but you may want to start looking at alternatives where you can be independent on your own, so that you don't leave her in a lurch. You find something else you want to do and you train your replacement. Being magnanimous shouldn't hurt. So ask yourself, how can you make the situation better for her? And try and you don't tell me if you have children or not, but obviously if you have children, you have to maintain an ongoing relationship. And so it's important to find that that middle ground, that safety zone. The safety zone where we're not getting into the personal stuff, we're simply talking about the business. But whether you are a man or a woman, if you're in a business with a married partner and you get divorced, if they have total ownership and therefore total control, I advise you to find an alternative where you can stand in your own power without causing a problem with that business, but maintain something that's going to allow you to have some control over your future. And maybe if you decide to stay in the business, you do it with an understanding that should you determine that this is not right, that you get some sort of a golden parachute or some sort of an exit that shows the value that you've added to the business and that you have basically continued to contribute to the business. And hopefully some of that makes sense, because again, I don't know the law in UK. I don't know if it's a community property or whether she has the ability to maintain ownership. And certainly nobody wants disruption in the business. So finding a way in that central ground to support one another is very important. Last question. My name is Rochelle. I have an online retail business, and my cost on the products that I'm selling online have increased over time, and I'm feeling like I need to increase costs to customers in order to maintain a healthy margin and keep my business operations funded. There's no doubt that my current customers will notice, even if it's a small increase in price. I'm concerned about making the change. I don't feel like an announcement or communication specifically to address this is a good move, but I also want my customers to know that I'm not arbitrarily raising prices because I'm greedy. What should I do? Well, Rochelle, I bet there's quite a few people watching and listening to this that have been in the same situation. Life does change and prices do go up. And particularly as we women, most of us don't charge what we're worth. And so that's probably going on here too. And yes, you may very well lose some customers because you're raising prices. But if you're not making the profit you should to cover your overhead and bring additional monies home, then you need to consider your pricing model. You may want to look at your vendors and see if there's a way that those costs have gone up. Well, maybe there's a way to get them to negotiate their prices back down. I would always look at that first, seeing if you've already, for instance, you may have been working with them for several years, so you've established credit with them. And so just by simply asking, you may be able to get some better payment terms and a lower price from them, and maybe your volume's gone up. So first look at your costs and say, is there anything I can do about those costs to keep them lower? Hi, Chantel. Robin, wonderful. I'm glad you're here. And you have a perfect example. You ran a business with your ex-husband for 3 years with legal. It was a business partner, took a bit to settle, but it worked. And then I wanted to exit and we sold it. Good luck. Thank you for sharing that, Robin. That's fantastic. Hopefully that will help Mitchell as well. But when we come back to prices, I wouldn't raise them 6 times, right? So look at what your profit margin needs to be. Look at your costs, make sure what you've done there to try and reduce the costs. And then maybe increase the prices with a new line that's coming in. You know, you said you have this in online clothing. So that might be you have some stable items that you can maintain those prices. A lot of companies do that, something like loss leaders, right? You may have a particular outfit that everybody loves. Well, maybe keep that at the price that it always has been. And maybe even promote the fact that, you know, you value your customers and you're keeping some of these stable items at the price as you increase your new prices on your new line. Because that helps like establish a point in time and a reason for those higher prices. And no, your customers don't want to hear that your costs have increased and therefore your prices have increased. I actually wouldn't go there unless somebody's calling in to ask about the prices. And then I would actually have a response typed up, because you probably have people working for you. And if people are calling in about the price increase, you want to control the messaging. So have what you want your people to say in a script so that they can all be singing the same song. Because you just never know when you have people going, you know, crazy with making up stories. Give them something that they can speak from. Because you're running a business. It doesn't sound like you're running a charity, right? So when your costs go up, your prices go up. And that's just the fact of life. And certainly, you know, and today our inflation is very low. And so people don't like to raise prices, but it still is something that I think you're running a business, you need to make a profit. And look at similar items on similar sites. Do some due diligence and see what other companies are charging for similar products. And if you end up having to charge a little bit more, go back to writing the script as to why your products cost a little bit more, so that you have, again, the talking points for your staff. If somebody should, you know, I saw the similar outfit so-and-so over here. You have better stitching, you have better quality material, whatever the response should be, more custom, those kinds of things give you the opportunity to address the objection in a uniform and planned out, well thought out way. That gives you that's all part of creating systems. Remember, systems. That's how you build and scale your company. That's through systems. So having those scripts, having those issues so that your customer service is handled right away and with uniformity. Because that's, you know, when you have a change, turn it into an opportunity, right? So when you have a change like this, you have an opportunity to turn it into your unique selling proposition. Yes, we are a little higher than these companies because we have a higher quality fabric. We have higher quality manufacturing. We manufacture in the USA, not in China. All of those things that, again, share why you are better and higher quality, and therefore turn this into an opportunity to elevate yourself instead of feeling like you were caught unaware from these questions from your customers. So every change in your life brings fear, the unknown, and the issue I challenge you with, it's take the fear, say, okay, breathe, say, that happened. Now, what am I going to do to make it better? You know, it's that negative. Remember, I talked to you about to worry is to pray for what you don't want. And I use that definition in the case of change like this. And I've used it like 5 times this week, and I've had so many things happen. It's crazy. And it's like, okay, that happened. All right. Well, instead of focusing on that negative thing that happened, right, I tell myself to worry is to pray for what you don't want. Okay, stop. It's my trigger. And I go, okay, how can I make it better? You know, maybe this happened for a reason. I'm not in control. This is the cards I've been dealt. How can I turn this into a royal flush? And it's by taking action and not spending a lot of time fretting over the past, but creating a new future. So that creativity, curiosity gets you out of chaos and crisis and creates a new reality, an even better one for the future. So thank you all for being with me. Appreciate it. Sherry, always, you are fantastic. Thanks all for being here, and I want you to have a fantastic day and know that I'm here to support you. So join me tomorrow at the private Facebook group, Play Big Boo with Sharon Lechter. I can't wait to see all of you. Take care.